As bad as this Sydney Starr situation already is, it apparently has gotten worse. And I didn't even know it could get worse. Sydney Starr was arrested a couple of days ago in a hotel room for quite literally the worst thing any person, any adult can ever be arrested for. Sydney Starr got booked for an appearance in Georgia, and when they failed to make the appearance, the promoters contacted their manager trying to figure out why aren't they here? They got booked, they got paid. Why aren't they here? That's when the manager told them, oh, she's getting arrested currently for doing unimaginable things in a hotel room with a very young boy. During the arrest, a condom fell out their pocket, which means they haven't, I guess, fully transitioned yet. Now, they were arrested on several charges involving inappropriate things with a very young boy. Now, apparently this encounter started off, I guess, voluntarily, and then at some point during the encounter, the young boy realized that Sydney Starr was not a biological woman and then ran out the room.
Did you clearly tell that this boy was young?
Yeah, you can hear it. When I talked to the little boy on the phone, you can hear it. I am a mother of a 12-year-old. You can hear it in his voice. He's a baby. And the kid is saying while they're on the elevator, saying like, do you carry condoms? Like asking this little boy.
What did the little boy say to you?
He was just explaining, because I was talking to the sister. He was in the background, and you could tell he didn't want to talk too much, but he was just saying that how it was uncomfortable and how she was telling him to come here at the bar, just telling me little, how it happened, more so like.
So she solicited him while she was at the bar. And what was his mom and sister at the time?
The mom, the sister said they just let the kids, like I think they were checking in. Because they were checking in. Check-in went to 3. So everybody was kind of there early. You get what I'm saying? They couldn't check in, but Sydney Starr had a room because I requested for that.
The parents are getting a lot of backlash, and I don't blame people, to be honest, because how is your eyes off your children long enough for a predator to be able to coerce them into their grip and then take them upstairs without you knowing? Now, Sydney Starr is bold. Doing this in the middle of a lobby in front of a bunch of witnesses is bold. Like, it is bold. Now, Sydney Starr is claiming that they thought the young boy was 19 years old. I haven't laid eyes on a young boy, but people who have says that's impossible. Like, you can tell by the way the young boy is speaking, how he looks, his height, his everything. This does not look like a 19-year-old. This looks like clearly like as a very young boy. There's not a world where an adult will confuse this young boy for an adult. Even if you're a sicko who want to believe Sydney Starr and want to believe that, they thought the boy was 19 years old, which, by the way, you have no reason to believe Sydney Starr. Sydney Starr is a pathological liar. Like, she has documented lie. Have you forgotten what Sydney Starr did to Chingy? Ruined his life, his reputation, and everything he ever worked for? He couldn't feed his family anymore because of Sydney Starr? Only for them to come out years later and admit that they lied on Chingy? They perpetuated a lie for years just to come out and admit, oops, sorry, I lied. Man, yo, Chingy is a strong man for not suing the daylights out of Sydney Starr. But even if you are a sicko and like want to believe Sydney Starr, what's the excuse for not disclosing who they are? Sydney Starr knows who they are. Sydney Starrs know what they are, know the piece they're working with. Sydney Starr know that young boy, even if she thought, and I keep saying she for some reason, even if Sydney Starr thought that young boy was 19 years old, what's the excuse for not disclosing what you are before doing anything with them? That right there is a different level of predatory on its own. Before you compile that with Sydney Starr just being an absolute predator and a pedo, that right there is predatory on its own. You understood that young boy thought you was a biological woman. You understood that young boy thought you was born a woman.
So did the boy know he was going up to the room to have possibly, or thought it was?
I don't know, but I would think he knew because she was asking him on the elevator about condoms. And then when she went in there, they said she gave him orals. And I think when she tried to penetrate him, or she did, I don't know. Because the sister said they did a kid. So.
I'll be honest with y'all, bro. For something to this degree, It's already bad enough what you're doing to that young boy. It's already bad enough, right? It's already bad enough. But to trick him as well, this is a death row requirement. The 5, 10, 20 years that they may get out, this should be a death row trial. This trial should include a death penalty. That's the only way to even this up. To deceive that young boy into thinking you was born a biological woman, then to go upstairs, violate him before telling him, and then try to sneak it on him last minute. And then he's like, hold on, whoa, what? And then he had to run out the room and go downstairs to call for help. To me, the mitigating factors to part of this, that should be an enhancement. Your base offense level, okay, well, this is not the feds, but still. All right, this ain't the feds, but still. This should be a federal case, right? This should be a federal charge. The base offense level for this federal charge should be 50. Crimes like this should be treated like crimes against humanity. You try to take that young boy's humanity. Now, what I heard after this story came out, because a lot of people contacted me, they say, yo, this ain't the first time. They say, yo, this is how Sydney Starrs get down. Like, we been knew this is how they get down. They have done this to numerous others. I said, what? They said, Flacco, yeah. Now, they said, told me to go and check her only. Man, I'm not doing none of that, bruh. I am straight. I'm not that good of a researcher, homie. I'm not doing that research. I'm good. They said Sydney Starr has been selling explicit videos with boys that they believe are very young as well. I don't know their age, so I'm not gonna put that on her. So they're saying, bruh, Sydney Starr has been doing this and getting away with it for years because her method is she's relying on the young boys being too embarrassed and admitting, hey, this transformer tricked me. So that's her method. She tricks the young boy into engaging, does something with them before telling them, try to sneak it on them last minute, and then worst case scenario, they run out but don't tell nobody because they're too embarrassed that they got tricked. They're too embarrassed. They feel like they'll get judged if they tell people, yo, I did something with this person who didn't tell me the truth, right? Because they're young. So that's how they've been able to get away with it for so long. So this is way worse than you think. There is a line of victims belonging to Sydney Starr. Now, members from Sydney Starr's community have spoken out. They believe that Sydney Starr has set them back years upon years. Listen, man, I'm not gonna put the actions of Sydney Starr on her entire community. What I would say, though, is, are there beliefs within the community, within the Black community, that there's a higher level of predatory activities going on within their community than any other community? Do the Black community believe that that particular community that Sydney Starr belonged to, there's a higher level of predatory activities going on within that community than anywhere else? Yes, we do. Yes, we believe it. That's a belief. So we keep our kids away. But is Sydney Starr's actions indicative of the entire community? I don't think so. I'm not going to go that far. But here are people from her community or their community where they're saying Sydney Starr has set their community back and they are pissed.
A member of the LGBTQ community and everything that we got going on right now with the legislation in this Trump administration, the first thing I said was, damn you, Sydney. You right here personified everything that those people push trans people to be. You personified everything those people fearmonger and portray trans people to be. You laid it right out on the table for them to now use what you did to this boy as the poster child for why trans people should not have rights, why they should not be able to go in bathrooms, and why they should not be parts of society because they're going to do what? Thank you so much, Sydney Starr, for setting the entire community back forever and a decade for doing that. That is number one. Number two, I am sorry, and this is going to be relatively disrespectful to the trans community, but I have to say it the way society is going to receive it. You was a man on your knees performing oral on that little boy. Society is going to say you were a sick man. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. It would have been equally as worse if it was a cisgender, biological, front desk fish, real woman with a coochie that can have a baby. It would have been bad had a real woman did it, no disrespect intended, but it makes it even worse that you trans and you did it because now they're going to build all type of trauma about this time this man with this wig and these titties performed oral on a 13-year-old. It's just horrible, Sydney. It is horrible. Now, I had some conversations today with some of my trans friends, and I wanted to, y'all know me, I'm always trying to understand something, even if it's horrible. I am trying to understand. And so I asked one of my trans friends, I said, listen, I said, I'm not trans, so I don't necessarily understand the psychology or the psyche of a trans person. I said, but is somebody like a Sydney Starr being so boy crazy, does that play into the whole needing to be validated as a woman and being able to pull a boy or pull a man or get somebody to be attracted to you or get...
Quite frankly, I don't care what the reason, what the excuse is. I don't care what type of intellectual complex structure they could come up with to analyze. Hey, man, death penalty, take them to court, get them the death penalty. This is a crime against humanity, bruh. But members from Sydney Starr's yes, that's how they validate themselves. The attraction of a heterosexual man is how they validate themselves. And that's fine and dandy as long as that's an adult male. Once you start to seek validation from our young boys, that's when I think that's a problem. And I think everybody thinks that's a problem. And for situations where like this, where it's in 4K, everybody see it is in 4K, there's absolutely no way they're innocent. They confess, they admitted, yes, we did the... Hey, bruh, go to court, put the death penalty on the table, and sayonara. Y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, okay? If you're still watching this video and you want to watch another good video, then click on this video right here somewhere on my screen, somewhere here, or here, or here, or here, somewhere on my screen to find out why exactly this album that Pooh Shiesty just dropped could very well get him a life sentence. I'm going to see you guys in this Pooh Shiesty video. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.